I couldn't believe what my stepdad did. Even now, sitting in my apartment years later, I still replay that night over and over again in my head, as if it were a scene from a movie I can't seem to turn off. My name is Emily, and I was 17 when it all started. My mom had remarried a man named Mark 2 years earlier, and though I never really thought of him as a father, he became a constant presence in my life. At first, I wasn't sure about him. My mom, Laura, had been through a lot after her divorce from my dad. She deserved happiness, and Mark seemed to bring her that. He was charming, polite, and always tried to make me feel included. But deep down, I never fully trusted him. Mark was the kind of man who could light up a room. He had a way of making everyone laugh, always telling stories that seemed almost too good to be true. My mom fell for him hard, and I could see why. He made her smile in a way I hadn't seen in years. But when it came to me, I always felt like there was something behind his perfect stepdad routine, like he was trying too hard to prove himself. He'd buy me little gifts like books he thought I'd enjoy, or take me out for ice cream, trying to bond. It wasn't that I didn't appreciate the effort. I just wasn't ready to let someone else into that space in my life. Things were fine at first. We functioned like a normal blended family. We'd eat dinner together, watch movies on the weekends, and take small trips. On the surface, we looked happy, but cracks started to show. My mom worked late hours as a nurse, and that often left me alone with Mark in the evenings. Most of the time, it was fine. He'd make dinner, ask me about school, and we'd sit in the living room watching TV. But there were moments when his behavior confused me, moments that made me wonder if he was really the man he pretended to be. One night, it was storming outside, and the thunder was so loud it shook the windows. I was curled up on the couch with a blanket, trying to read, when Mark came in with 2 mugs of hot chocolate. He sat down next to me, closer than usual, and handed me one. "Your mom always says hot chocolate helps during storms," he said with a smile. I thanked him and sipped quietly, but I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. It wasn't just the storm, it was him. His eyes lingered on me a little too long, his compliments felt just a little too personal, and I started wondering what his real intentions were. At school, I tried to distract myself with friends and homework. My best friend, Jessica, noticed something was off. One day at lunch, she leaned across the table and asked, "Emily, are you okay? You've been so quiet lately." I wanted to tell her everything, but how could I? It wasn't like Mark had done anything I could point to and say, "See? This is wrong." It was more of a feeling, a sense that something wasn't right. I brushed it off, telling her I was just stressed about exams. But the truth was, my stepdad was taking up more and more space in my mind, and not in a way I could understand. Then came the night everything changed. My mom was working a double shift, and Mark offered to drive me to my friend's birthday party. I was excited to go, mostly because it meant I could get out of the house and be around people my own age. On the way there, Mark kept trying to make conversation, asking about my crushes, my friends, my plans after graduation. It felt strange, like he was trying too hard to get me to open up. When we arrived, I thanked him quickly and rushed inside, relieved to be away from him. The party was fun, loud, and full of laughter. For a few hours, I forgot all about Mark. But when it was time to leave, I realized I had no choice but to call him for a ride. My mom was still at work, and he was the only one available. When he pulled up, he smiled at me through the car window, but there was something in his expression I couldn't read. The ride home was quiet at first, but then he said something that made my stomach twist. "You're growing up so fast, Emily. It's hard to believe you're almost an adult." I didn't know how to respond, so I just stared out the window. That night, after I got home, I locked myself in my room. For the first time, I felt genuinely scared of him. I couldn't shake the thought that he saw me differently than he should. I stayed awake for hours, listening to every creak in the house, wondering if he'd come to my door. The next morning, I decided I couldn't stay silent anymore. I called Jessica and told her everything. She listened carefully, and when I finished, she said, "Emily, you need to tell your mom. She has to know what's going on." I wanted to, but the thought of hurting her broke my heart. She had finally found happiness after so many years of being alone, and I didn't want to be the one to take it away. But things escalated quickly. A week later, my mom left town for a weekend work conference, and it was just me and Mark in the house. The first night, he made dinner and tried to act normal, but I couldn't eat. My stomach was in knots. Later, when I went upstairs, I heard him outside my bedroom door. He didn't knock, just lingered there, like he was waiting for something. My heart pounded as I listened to his footsteps fade down the hall. The next morning, I packed a bag and went to stay at Jessica's house. I told her parents everything, and they were shocked. They immediately called my mom. When she came home, she sat me down and asked me to tell her the truth. I was trembling as I explained how Mark had been making me uncomfortable, how his words and actions didn't feel right. My mom listened, her face pale, her hands shaking. That night, she confronted him. I could hear them arguing downstairs, her voice breaking as she demanded answers. Mark denied everything, insisting that I had misunderstood, that I was just being dramatic. But my mom believed me. She told him to leave, and within days he was gone from our lives. It wasn't easy after that. My mom was heartbroken, not just for herself but for me. She apologized over and over, blaming herself for not seeing the signs. But I told her it wasn't her fault. Mark was good at hiding who he really was, and we had both been fooled. In the months that followed, my mom and I grew closer than ever. We went to therapy together, rebuilding the trust that had been shaken. I realized that speaking up had not only protected me, but had also saved my mom from a man who didn't deserve her love. Now, looking back, I understand the importance of trusting my instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. My stepdad's actions could have gone unnoticed, but by finding the courage to speak up, I changed the course of our lives. I couldn't believe what my stepdad did, but I'm grateful that I found the strength to face it and move forward with my mom by my side.